Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the AEW Dynamite post show. I am Excalibur, and what a night of action we had here tonight. It was, I don't know, this was a really interesting, really diverse, really impressive night of action. I'm joined by the human suplex machine himself, Taz, and the Hall of Fame voice of professional wrestling, Jim Ross. And gentlemen, we had a great night of action. Taz, what were your highlights, and not counting your promo?
I won't count my promo, but one of my highlights was watching Ricky Starks basically knock the head off of Darby Allin. When watching Darby's face hit the top rope from the blow to the back of the head that Ricky gave him, that Darby was never expecting, that's what you get, Darby, when you interrupt Brian Cage and Taz. So, that was a highlight for me. And the beatdown also, again, I'm not mentioning my promo, the beatdown of Brian Cage and Ricky on Darby until that heathen came out with his baseball bat and barbed wire that he stole somewhere in South Philadelphia in '98, but I digress.
It's probably worth a lot of money on the secondary market.
I can't hear Excalibur. I hear Taz. I don't hear Excalibur. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, JR.
Yes.
If not, I'll go back to drinking.
All right.
Well, Excalibur, I'll ask you. Well, maybe you could just ask JR because you could hear JR can hear.
Well, how about you read my questions to JR and ask
JR just moving his lips. He looks like a mannequin.
Ask JR if there's anything that stuck out to him.
He looks like a
JR would Excalibur asked me was anything stuck out to you on tonight's episode of Dynamite that jumps out in the forefront for you?
I thought we had a good show. I enjoyed the show. The talent worked hard. There were any segments where you roll your eyes. I should have done something else in hindsight. I love the effort of everybody. I thought the Ivelisse and Diamante had a surprisingly good match, considering that it was colder than ice. So they held their end of the bargain up, I thought, very well. The TNT title matchup, I had never seen the opponent work before. And I thought that match exceeded my expectations. So I liked that Brian Cage had a good night, which he needed, and it was well timed. We all need a good night. It was good to see I thought the Falls Count Anywhere match was incredible. So a lot of good moments for me tonight. I enjoyed watching the show and listening to it back, and so it was a good night at the office for all of us.
All right, JR, you got me now? Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you now. Thank you.
Is that better? No?
Yes, great. Thanks.
JR still can't hear me? Taz, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear both of you.
Oh, shit. Now I lost everybody.
Oh, all right. Well, speaking on Eddie Kingston, I will say, he's obviously a veteran. He's well traveled. I think you guys might have pointed that out on the broadcast. He is. To me, he had an amazing night. I even tweeted something. I'm paraphrasing, but earlier I tweeted something about Eddie. That the pressure was on him, and I thought he hit a grand slam. He and Cody were ultra physical. I mean, they really, and I think Cody needs a lot of credit, deserves a lot of credit to go into a matchup and you're going to get in there and someone's going to be that physical with you and you suck it up. And then I'm not even talking about the thumbtacks, but which hurts like shit. I can tell you that from experience. But the match itself was very physical. And I thought Eddie and Cody both made it tough for the rest of the night to follow the physicality. But I feel like the show built perfectly. And the Falls Count Anywhere, like you said, was excellent. I mean, Diamante, Ivelisse, I'm with you. I mean, I thought Hangman and Five had a really good match. I mean, the whole night, it was just a really strong wrestling show.
Yeah, good efforts by everybody. As I said, those thumbtacks, they give me the creeps, man. Oof. I get a little bit crazy when I have to prick my finger to check my blood sugar. Much less having thumbtacks all over my rotund body. Would not be something I would choose to experience, by the way. So the toughness, the commitment to doing something a little bit more, a little bit extra in that TNT title match. It's interesting to me that the selection of opponents has been so diverse that that has affected the personality of the TNT title, in my view, because of the diversity of the talents that have challenged for the championship. So it's a unique title. Somebody said you compare it to the TV title. Well, at one time the TV title was a prestigious piece of business. I remember when Arn Anderson was the TV champion on TBS. He had some great matches. You look forward to them because you knew there would be it wasn't always a squash, a mismatch, a prelim guy and a main event guy. So, but I like the diversity of that title and what it's starting to mean. So, and I prioritize it above the TV title, much above. So, Cody's done a hell of a job in that regard. He's at the top of his game. He looks lean and looks good. He's got a lot on his plate, which I've talked to him about many times. You know, you can't burn the candle at both ends for a long time. But when you're young and full of piss and vinegar, you can burn it for a short time. But at some points, you know, he's so involved in the administration that I think about that, because that bad meeting in the afternoon before your match on Wednesday night could cost you your championship. And I know, and you guys know, being a Rhodes, that the wrestling side of what he does for a living is his most important thing, and he likes it more. So this is going to be an interesting story to follow as we move forward, because you know that all this title getting as much feedback as it is, online discussion, thanks here on our channel, that it's going to be really interesting to see where it evolves. And I've become more and more interested in it every week. And Eddie Kingston was a big reason for that tonight. You know, I said a line that, you know, he's at the stage of his career. He needs to win, needs to make, or at least make a great impression. He did that. He made a great impression with his promo. He's an old school promo guy that speaks from the heart, and I didn't think he was bullshitting me. So I was impressed with that. So nonetheless, all around a good effort by everybody. That TNT title was a great way to start.
Yeah. I just want to say one thing, Excalibur, on this. So on Eddie Kingston's promo, and I agree, he's a great promo. He's always been a great promo the bulk of his career. He's also an excellent manager. He has a history of that. And I agree, it's because speaking from the heart and the benefit, and I'll wave the AEW flag right now, you know, and you guys know this, you know, being in a company where you have some creative freedom as a performer to cut a promo. You can't just go out and say what you want, but there is some creative freedoms that elsewhere you wouldn't have. And I do think that Eddie understood that, and Eddie Kingston took advantage of that in a positive way. And he showed what he can do on the stick, on the microphone, and physically. So, I mean, a lot of people are chirping him up right now and loving him. So on social media, and they should, because he made a lot of noise. He did a great job. But it takes two to tango. He had an excellent dance partner in the American Nightmare. So both those guys deserve a lot of credit.
Yeah, agreed.
Can you guys hear me both?
Yes.
Yes,
unfortunately. All right, finally. Okay, good. Well, so to echo your sentiments on Kingston, he's somebody that I've known personally for 17 plus years. So this was a big pleasure of mine to get to call one of his matches on big stage like Dynamite. But also, we mentioned about how on the broadcast he literally had to sell his boots to pay his mortgage. He had to go to great lengths to just survive. And I mean, you guys have been around pro wrestling a lot longer than I have, but there come times when guys are given this opportunity like Eddie has, and sometimes they don't rise to the occasion. They just kind of treat it like it's a normal opportunity, whatever. Kingston treated this like it was a special thing. He showed off everything that makes him Eddie Kingston, and I think all the praise that he's received tonight has been deservedly so.
Yeah, I'm happy for guys like that. You know, you can tell he's no veteran. You know, he hasn't been too many trips lately to the pay window, because independent wrestling is kind of sketchy right now.
Yeah, just dried up,
right, guys. I mean, you know, there's you can't have, there's no dates. So when I said in commentary tonight to add a little drama to the story, and you can tell by looking at the dude, he's not a young kid. He's a grizzled veteran. If there ever was a grizzled veteran, Eddie Kingston is a grizzled veteran, and I got all the respect in the world for that. That is not a negative coming from me, I promise you. But I'll
say, sorry, continue.
Well, my final point was, I just believe that what Excalibur said, in the fact that he needed a break. He got a chance to be on national television in a highlighted position. I thought he came through. Now, will he get hired by AEW? Who the hell knows? None of us are in that loop. But I can tell you that he would be somebody that I would keep on my short list, quite frankly.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to say, you're right. Like, if you look at his physique, to your point, he does look like a grizzled veteran. He's not carved out of stone. And I think that's not good. I think that's great, because we have a lot of that on our roster where not everyone looks like they're chiseled out of granite. Not everyone's 6'3", 260 with abs and veins across their shoulders, and it doesn't have to be like that. There needs to be, it's like the old cliche line with pro wrestling. You're going to the ice cream shop, you want a shitload of flavors. You don't just want vanilla or chocolate. You want vanilla, chocolate, Rocky Road, pistachio, cherry vanilla, orange, purple, whatever you want. And I do think that's what our roster is. And I think an athlete, and he is an athlete like Eddie Kingston. You're right, JR, grizzled veteran. And I think, what the hell? So what? It works. He looks like an ass kicker because he is an ass kicker. If you go back to the day of, and the great Dick Murdoch. I mean, Dick Murdoch, JR, very well. That guy never looked like he was chiseled out of granite. And that guy was a mean, tough, nasty son of a bitch, incredible as hell, as you know.
You want Murdoch in a street fight or a bar fight. You want him there with you if you run afoul of somebody. And I perceive the same feeling with Eddie Kingston. I can see Eddie Kingston succeeding and doing very well in a bar fight. So we'll see how it goes for the guy. But I always say on Grill and JR podcasts and so forth, these young kids got to understand to maximize their minutes. And it doesn't matter to me if you're on dark, which I enjoy. You two guys do a great job on that show. I enjoy watching it. I support this channel. So, but I just think that, no matter what show you're on, maximize your minutes. It's that simple. How hard is it? You got to go out there and wrestle, 10, 15 minutes if you're lucky, 8 to 12 if normal, or maybe a little shorter, which is even more unique. So what the hell? You maximize those minutes. Invest your whole business life into those minutes while you're working. And I thought Eddie Kingston did that tonight. My hat's off to him. And I never met him. I don't know him. I didn't have any conversation with him. I just knew what I'd heard from the guys, which is always great. But you could tell what he was and who he was and the road he's traveled. And I respect the road that Eddie Kingston has traveled.
Well, and he took advantage of the opportunity. And even real quick, like Ricky Starks, yeah, sure, he's part of my deal now. But Ricky did the same thing, Excalibur, right or wrong. When he wrestled Cody weeks back, and he kicked ass for the TNT Championship, didn't win it, but he ended up getting himself, a contract, which is awesome.
He maximized his minutes, Taz. He maximized, just like we all try to do when we get our TV time. Whether it's you doing a promo or whatever, in the main event next week, again, which is great. That should be a hell of a main event, quite frankly. Yeah, because you got hungry people involved. You got motivated people involved. It's not about what side of the aisle you sit on politically in this company. It really isn't. And I know that's hard for a lot of old school fans to understand and diehard fans to understand. This company is about as non-political as I've ever worked in. I've never worked in a company where it was less political than this, except when I worked for Cowboy Bill Watts. There was no committee. It was his word was the way it was. But he was a great teacher and a great leader. He led his company that he had all his money invested in. So why wouldn't he be the last word? So I'm a big fan of that philosophy, quite frankly, and I love the fact that we're all here together. And I think we've all talked about this before. It's the best wrestling job I've ever had because of the lack of political bullshit, the fact that you can speak your mind, you can express your opinion, you can give an idea, just do your job, man. As Cody says in his promos a lot, do the work. It's that simple, actually, in life in general. So it was a good night. I feel so good about tonight. I'm almost euphoric. And for an old guy like me to get euphoric is a heart issue. So gotta be careful.
Well, in my experience, I've found that the people that make the best pro wrestling managers, wrestlers, referees, officials, executives, or whatever, are people that absolutely love pro wrestling. And Cody, Eddie Kingston, and then John Moxley fit that bill very well. Moxley was on Dan Le Batard yesterday on ESPN. He was on the radio talking up tonight's episode of Dynamite, and he was very excited about not only his match in this ongoing feud with Brian Cage and Taz, but also seeing Kingston debut. And that just speaks to the heart of, and if we can kind of step outside of the story for a second, that just everybody in AEW is here because they love pro wrestling. This is a business that we're all passionate about. It's not a 9-to-5. It's not a paycheck that we're just cashing and taking our overalls off at the end of the day. This is something that we all live and breathe.
Yeah, I can't wait to get back to work, quite frankly. I think next week's show is going to be awesome. Not that we're finished talking about what we just saw tonight, but I think next week's show it's just there's you see the evolution of our talent. You see new things evolving. Taz with Brian Cage and now Ricky. Hopefully Taz can make Ricky a star. I know he's going to try. Obviously, we're all pulling for Brian Cage. I think he's going to do great. But they got to evolve. Everybody's got a new role. We're all new to some degree in our roles in this company. We were on the air in October, for God's sakes. So you got all these. Orange Cassidy. I wouldn't give him the time of day when I first saw him. I said, "What the fuck are we thinking?" And I was wrong. I ain't got a problem saying I'm wrong. I've been wrong before. But now I'm a big Orange Cassidy fan. He's won me over, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So we got so many young guys that are evolving before our very eyes. It really should, it's going to sound real ass kissing, but why is there even a choice on Wednesday night? DVR NXT. Watch it later. Our shit's better. And I'm proud to be able to say that. And it's not in defiance, it's just in reality.
I don't remember the last time I even watched this show. That's no bullshit. I really don't give a rat's ass about it. I respect the men and women there, that are bumping and working, but I'm not trying to be a homer. I don't give a shit if someone thinks I am, but I'm so locked into what we do. I really don't give a rat's ass. So
that boy.
That's sorry, you know how I am.
That's a lose-lose statement on the official AEW channel. We're never going to win that.
But I know, but what are you gonna do?
But that's the thing. That's what I meant. The passion from every single person that steps.
Well, here's the deal, man. You think any of those TV shows, those online shows, those streaming shows that WWE does, they would ever mention us? Oh. Shit, no. Oh. They're arrogant. They're omnipotent. They're the king of the mountain. Here's us going on our YouTube channel, trying to build this entity. Here's us going on Wednesday night on TNT, trying to build that brand. And I mention guys all the time that had WWE backgrounds. So fucking what?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's one other thing on that. And you'll get some people that'll make comments on the YouTube gimmick where they make comments. And like, oh, there it is again. AEW complaining about WWE. No, dumb shits. What we're doing is we're not insulting your intelligence, and we're acknowledging WWE. Okay, they are the ones insulting your intelligence. We bring them up because they're there. Okay,
they're relevant.
It's no bullshit. Right, they are relevant, and we're relevant. And when we mention it, or ratings, or whatever on social media, we're trying to be transparent for you people.
I mean, there's a reason why we said
enjoy the show.
John Moxley couldn't wrestle because of secondhand exposure to COVID. There's a reason why we say all these things. Is because we we treat the audience like we as individuals like to be treated, whether it's through wrestling, through sports, or through whatever. I mean, imagine watching a football game and, you know, the quarterback's not starting and they just tell you, you know, they make up, oh, he got run over by a garbage truck or something. You know, it's like, that's an insult to your intelligence. And so, you know, they're part of the ethos, part of what AEW is built on is being straightforward, being forthright with the fans, and treating them as we would like to be treated.
Agreed. Yes. You want to talk about the show tonight, or we're going to continue?
I mean, we can just keep riffing.
I don't care. I mean, it's up to you guys.
I'm good. I'm just pissed off because
you're the point guard here.
Well, I
put the ball in place.
I'm going to tell you what happened. So I don't have.
We got Westbrook and Jordan over here not passing the ball. So.
Well, I don't have my FTW T-shirt on, and it's bad business on my part, but there's a reason. I have 3 of them. I was given 3 of my new FTW shirt, which you can get at Shop AEW, right? So, boom. And what do I do at the airport? I gave all 3 away. Okay.
No, you did not.
I did because
what's happening to you? You're killing your gimmick, man.
I destroyed my gimmick. And I gave all 3. And one was dirty. And the guy wanted it for his nephew or some shit. It's just, you got to take care of the people at the New York. I fly to New York. So, some of the people work for the airline. You got to take care of them a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You got to do the right thing for the fans, So that's why I'm not wearing it. So I got to get a new shirt. So,
well, good thing you can go to shopaew.com and buy as many as you need.
There you go, buddy.
There you go. And you can buy the very rare JR shirt. It sells about once or twice a year. But nonetheless, I digress about my marketing abilities. But JR'sBarbecue.com, BBQ.com is kicking ass.
Get that main event mustard,
baby. I'm still waiting, brother. Listen.
I know. I got to get it.
Your frigging address. I've asked you now that 4 times. Now I'm publicly asking you. If you want free shit,
all right,
please just take the time to send me how to get it to you.
I'm going to give you my address right now. It's 1313 Mockingbird Lane, Red Hook, New York. And the zip is 131313. No, I'll get it. I know it's my bad. I appreciate it.
I'm trying to work. Mark, same goes for you, buddy.
You call me a Mark? Oh, no, you're talking Excalibur. Okay, I just want to make sure I know what you're saying.
Oh, sorry, Excalibur. Okay, fade.
I'm begging you to fucking fade his gimmick.
Oh, it's all right.
Well, I'm drinking Crown Royal Reserve tonight, Taz.
Oh.
Well, you're a highfalutin man.
On the rocks.
So you're giving those Moscow mules a little break?
Yeah, the mules are in the barn right now, but they're ready to roll anytime. So anyway, I mentioned earlier about the women's match.
Yep.
And Taz can probably speak this much better than I. But when you go on TV and you're looking to get a job and you're in an ice cold match that has no story whatsoever, except what Excalibur and Tony and I told on the way to the ring, which was not a lot. That's what we had. And then I watched the show tonight, and I saw there was some some extra audio involved, which took away a little bit from the match, but we picked it up good at the backside of it. And the magic of that was they had enough time to tell a story. So Taz, it's a hard deal, man, to be booked in a situation where you really want to turn heads and impress people, but there's no story. Do you agree? I mean, it's
absolutely
challenging. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, it's really hard, especially when the rest of the lineup, the card on the TV show, there's a plethora of stories. So what you have to do is what those 2 ladies did, what Ivelisse and Diamante did is just rely on the physical story you can tell within that moment. And I think they did a great job of that. And I have a feeling that the fans that watching at home really enjoyed the match. Excalibur and I have, called a lot of Diamante's matches on Dark. And Ivelisse is a true pro who's definitely paid dues.
How good a partner would she be with Nyla Rose in the tag team tournament?
Yeah,
how
really
would that duo be? I mean, I'm fantasy booking here, but here's the thing about it. I believe that a scenario like that has many winners. because I know that Evilise, with her experience, has 10 years in the business. Excalibur, you know this. She could help Nyla, and she could help Vicky, and it would be an interesting combination, a very Latina, really unique feel. I like that. So just an idea, booking idea.
Yeah.
See, I'm the senior advisor here, man. I can take credit for all the good shit. I can dispel any knowledge of any of the bad stuff. Don't know anything about it.
Yeah, never came across your desk. I think that's why that the women's tag team, we're kind of jumping around here, but I think that's fun. That's why that women's tag team tournament is so interesting. And it's, it's not for new titles. It's not for anything like that. It's, it's the cup. It's the 2020 cup. And there's a lot of interesting things because the women's division was so beset by injuries. This,
and the virus,
in a very practical sense, is a way to introduce a lot of new talent all at once and see who sticks. And
exactly, I love that concept because you got to get more people involved to have a tag team tournament. Because it's a 2-person production, so there's 4 people in every match. You got to think of the numbers game. We don't have the numbers right now without adding new people. I love the fact that we're creating a scenario. I hope the fans appreciate it. They were creating a scenario to provide opportunities for more women in pro wrestling who have had the short end of the stick for years and years. I will applaud WWE for this. They're doing a great job in developing some really outstanding female athletes. And so good for them for that vision, and I'm glad they're doing it. But it's certainly a situation for now for us as we continue to build our brand and build our roster, develop our situation, to create opportunities for people to get a couple of minutes in the game and see what they got. So it's a win-win for me. When I first heard it, I said, well, we don't have enough women. And I thought, well, we can find them. They're out there. They're looking for an opportunity. So here it is. Let's see what develops. It should be interesting.
Yeah, and Taz, this is kind of really the story of the pandemic of COVID, where half of our roster had to stay home for months at a time, and more than half. And
where's Pac, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Pac's a prime example. We missed
Jack Evans and Helico. I mean, guys like that. It's just
Riho, Yuka Sakazaki.
Riho, yeah.
And so we have people like Kip Sabian, like Penelope Ford, that were given the opportunity when we did those gang tapings in Norcross, and they stepped up and they really ran with the ball. And so now, and this is no offense to the people that can't travel, but we need people, we need we need competitors. And so this is an opportunity to kind of to fill up the ranks of the AEW competitor pool, Taz.
And you're exactly right. And this business, especially as an in-ring competitor, it's unfortunately it's not a team sport where the company feels like a team, and I get that. But when it comes down to individual male and female wrestlers, you are an independent contractor, and if you get an opportunity and you don't work for AEW, but then you get an opportunity to work for AEW because a contracted talent is international and can't come into the United States to work, and you get that opportunity, you have to swing for the fences and kick friggin' ass to try and get a contract, because it's not because this star that's an AEW star that lives in another country is not loved by AEW, or Tony Khan doesn't want this guy or girl. It's just that maybe they can't get here. So to the point you guys are making, we need talent on the air. So, you get someone who's stateside and gets an opportunity and they do well, next you know, you can end up getting a deal. And I do think, AEW, I mean, we deserve a lot of credit throughout this whole thing. I mean, I think as a company, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I don't think anyone has been, as far as talent and stuff, released or, fired, for lack of better terms, or everyone's kind of, the company's kept everyone intact, I'm pretty sure, unless I'm not in the loop on something.
And to your point, Taz, it's not that, I mean, like Alan Angels is somebody that stepped up during the Georgia tapings and did really well, and he
had a good night tonight too.
Yeah,
he did.
He looked great, and he earned himself a spot on the roster. That's not to say that he took someone else's spot. He created an opening for himself. I mean, when I went years ago, JR can speak. Sorry, but when I remember when I went to WWE when I first started there in 2000 as a wrestler,
And I had a lot of experience, but and I don't remember who I was speaking to. It might have been one of the agents, and Vince overheard me, just to pull the curtain back there. And I referenced something like, something about someone's spot. And it was like, wait a minute, no one has a spot. The spots, you earn what you have, and each week you got to keep earning it. There's no spot. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's a word that you use a lot in the business.
It is.
JR, being with talent relations, you could speak on that better than me back in the day,
Well, the words, the buzzwords of today seem to be the spot, as you eloquently discussed their task, and push.
Push, right.
Talents have as much to do with their push than as creative does. And talents, I've never been a talent, so I might be wrong in my observation. But I'm just saying that your performance in the ring for these promoters who want ratings, who want money, your performance in the ring is what's going to turn their head. And it's going to facilitate what their goal is. Their goal is not to make you wonderful. Their goal is to use your persona to make them more money. And they're all alike. It's all the same. It's sound business. That's what they should do. So nonetheless, I think that we're in a scenario here where we got a good group, and I love where we're headed. But anyway, I was going to say that I thought it was like tonight we talked about Dark Order. When Dark Order first came around, man, I thought, you got to be shitting me. What the hell is this? We had a variety of different people. The cast expanded. It was a one time here for this guy, a one time there for that guy. And some of them were horrible. Their punches wouldn't break an egg. It was embarrassing. But all of a sudden now, Dark Order has evolved into the number one contender for our tag title. They're going to challenge for it next week against Omega and Page. And they've become a damn good tag team. I'm telling you, one of the most undervalued, maybe, or underrated, or undernoticed stars in our company is Grayson.
Stu Grayson.
Stu Grayson. I want to call him Dick Grayson.
Yeah, absolutely.
Real name of Robin or somebody.
Yep, it was Robin.
Right.
But nonetheless, he's a
stud. He's a straight stud.
Damn, man, he's a player. He's a player.
Yeah.
And then Dark Uno. Oh no, I got to learn these guys' names.
Evil
someday.
Uno.
He fills his role perfectly. He's exactly what you would want in a somewhat nondescript masked man. No offense to Excalibur, your mask is not nondescript.
But so, I will tell you, Evil Uno is underrated. I feel as far as in ring work, like his bumping ability, his movements, his positioning, his time, his punch is excellent. Does a lot of really, really good stuff. I think he's underrated because he's tagging with a guy in Grayson who's just, to your point, a phenomenal hand.
Yeah. I can see old school promoters. I harken back, and it gets me heat with some groups, even in our company, that are younger and I'm older, and I'm behind the times. But man, it does my heart good to see a faction like that evolve, because the talents have worked hard. And look, Mr. Brody Lee's made a big difference. He's contributed greatly, even though I hope to see him more in the ring, because I'd love to watch his work. But he's made this thing legit. And the work of Dark Uno and Stu Grayson is exemplary. For those two guys could easily win the tag titles next week. If they won it, I would not be embarrassed. I would not be so shocked. I would say they're on a roll. They got momentum, and they're a good team. So this company allows talents to grow before they pass judgment on them, decreeing that they're either a success or a failure in your life's work, which is, you got to have a real omnipotent feel to be able to dish out that bullshit. So and I'm happy with those guys. I'm talking about next week. Like, I can't wait to get back to Jacksonville. Let's go.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. And actually, another guy we've seen grow. Even over the last 10 months or so is MJF. he had his match tonight where it was a match / promo / character piece, and he did everything that he needed to do. Like, if this was your first time watching Dynamite, you learned everything you needed to know about MJF tonight in a 8-minute segment.
MJF is so consistent every single time. He laces his boots up or has a stick mic in his hand, he scores a touchdown. He kicks ass every time. Every time. To me, I don't look at him as upside. I don't look at him as potential. I look at him as the here and now. And I thought tonight the stuff he did with Garrison, I thought was really, really cool and different, where he's on the mic while he's in the ring and he's cutting a promo on the kid while he's working and he's bullying the kid, yada, yada, yada. Tried to keep the kid alive a little bit during it. I enjoyed it very much. And I think MJF's work is excellent. And I think Wardlow's evolving nice too. We know what Wardlow can do. He's excellent also. So we have a lot of really good guys, and MJF to me is right towards the top of that list.
MJF's performance tonight reminded me of Roddy Piper at times. And I don't know if I know Roddy Piper is one of the influences of MJF. The talking in the ring was a little longer than I would have booked. Although I love the dialogue from MJF. He's a great promo guy. He reminds me a lot of a young Paul Heyman. When I first started working with Heyman in the late 80s in WCW, when nobody else wanted to work with him on the booking committee, I adopted him. So, but he reminds me a lot of him. And I'm saying this on the conversations I shared with MJF that were off camera. His mind, his inquisitiveness, always looking for feedback. He texts me his matches, and I give him feedback. Sometimes it's not A+, but it's never bad. The kids have got a great upside. And so when you get a guy that's got that great upside, from my experience in talent relations, you always encourage them to better their game. Never let them get complacent or get in a comfort zone. You're not great yet, but you can be.
But I'm going to interrupt you. I feel that's great advice, but I do feel that goes for anybody in the business. I'll give you, without naming the guy's name, I DM'd someone that's on our roster that wrestled tonight that's a veteran. And I said, hey, shit was great tonight. And the person came back to me and said, thank you, I appreciate it. Any feedback, any advice on something? And if I told you who this was, you'd be like, what? Yeah. So my point is, your point, JR, I think that everybody, no matter if you got 5 years in the game, 2 years in the game, or 22 years in the game, we're all still learning. Well, I'm still learning. As a commentator, I'm still learning. As a manager, if I was still wrestling, I'd still be learning.
Yeah.
I think once your brain says you stop learning, you're screwed. You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying because MJF is young. But the thing with MJF, and you guys both know this, for a long time now, he's got a lot of people in his ear, a lot of veterans trying to help him. And, because he's easy to want to help, because he's a younger talent who's a star who has an old school vibe. Okay.
Yeah,
and he's also,
right.
He does. And he's a sponge. He's a sponge for information. He lives, sleeps, and breathes this business. He lives 6 miles from me. I can assure you, I know him well. So he's like my second kid. So the thing is, his passion is amazing for what he does. So he's got to just, make sure he figures out who's in his ear, who to listen to, who that's offline stuff. But he is, I thought tonight he was excellent. He's also very hard on himself, not to, kill his gimmick or nothing, but he puts a lot of pressure on himself. And I think that's why he's really, really good.
He has to maintain that hard on himself attitude to get to the top of the mountain where he's probably going to end up if things continue to improve.
Right.
That's all. That's all I'm saying. Look, if I want to say publicly that this kid could be the top guy in our company, if I want to say that, and I have many times, then I believe in it. But I also believe that what's going to take to get there is extraordinary commitment and trying to get better every day. Because, like you said, he's going to hear from so many guys how great he is. Oh, my kid, you're going to make a lot of money in this business, kid. Well, he probably will if he's smart. But we all three of us know there are plenty of pitfalls that can stub your toe, slip on the old banana peel, blah, 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 in this business. Injuries, it could be a lot of things. So I'm a big fan of MJF. He reminds me of a lot of people. When I first met Buddy Rogers at a NWA Champions dinner in Atlanta, I said, "Mr. Rogers, it's such a pleasure to meet you, sir." He says, "Kid, it's always nice to meet Budrow." He had a swagger about him. We weren't on camera. It was just him being him. And you can tell that if you want MJF, some things he does are annoying as hell, which is money. He's easy to dislike, i.e. a young Paul Heyman. That's just my take on it.
Well, somebody that's around the same age as MJF and cut from a very similar cloth in that they care. They care almost to an insane degree is Jungle Boy. And Jungle Boy, very young, somebody that treats every match like he's having, whether it's in front of 5 people or 5,000 people, like it's the biggest match of his life. He was in our main event once again tonight, and once again facing off Sharon and Jake Hager. And, that speaks a lot to Jungle Boy, not only in the potential that this company sees in him, but how he's risen to meet those expectations, Taz.
Yeah, and I think it's a great example, Excalibur. He's another athlete, Jungle Boy, who puts a ton of pressure on himself. Another young athlete who has a lot of people in his ear. He's real easy to like. Backstage, he's just a really nice person, really good guy. He's got a quiet charisma about him. But he like MJF absorbs the business, loves the industry, wants to be great. He doesn't want to be good. He wants to be great. He's in there with a guy like Hager and a former world heavyweight champion and a legitimate badass son of a bitch, and a guy like Chris Jericho, who's a living legend, legitimately, right? So, those are pressure moments, and it's not the first time we've seen Jungle Boy in those situations, and he performs and he does great. He's I feel like anytime you could flip the switch on some of the younger people we have, the MJFs, the Sammy Guevaras, the Bobby Allens, the Jungle Boys, and a couple others. No disrespect to none of the other male athletes, but I think they jump out to me as athletes that can just at any time you want to flip that switch, boom. Those young athletes can be made guys pretty quick because they've been proving themselves. But we all got to keep getting better, as we all said. So, and everybody's going to get better. Young guys, old guys, everybody.
Jungle Boy is a young Ricky Morton. The fans, and here's the deal: he passes the test to cross over into the male demo. A lot of pretty boys have a big, strong female fan base, but they don't quite get over the hump where the male who's with his girlfriend who's screaming, and so he's already pissed off that this guy's getting all the attention. But then his work tells you he's resilient, he's tough, he's passionate, and I'm a big fan of Jungle Boy. I really am, and he's developing a great following. But I wonder how long he's going to be in this group. Is this the best thing for him, or is it the best thing for him for now? And then maybe in a year or less than a year, who knows how long, he goes out on a single deal. He's going to sell more merchandise. He's going to get over as a bigger star when he's by himself, when he's ready. And when he's ready remains to be seen.
Well, JR, talking about Jungle Boy's potential, and this is no disservice to Luchasaurus, but Jungle Boy, I think, is the clear breakout star of Jurassic Express. And one thing that I'm sure that both you and Taz have noticed in your careers is that you can have two guys that have the raw talent, and you can put them in the ring together. And MJF and Jungle Boy, every time that they've faced an AEW ring, they've made magic. But when you put Jungle Boy in the ring with Chris Jericho, Jungle Boy grows. It's an iron sharpens iron type thing.
Yeah. Well, I said this all along that you can't get better, and I think Taz will agree with this, is the fact that you can't get better when you're young and you're green, you're a rookie, working with people that have lesser skill set than you do. You got to work with the guys and practice with the guys that are better than you so they can teach you. And they can tell you, no, don't do that, do this. Put your feet over here. No, you're going to hurt yourself. Things like basic stuff, just basic stuff. And then as you advance in your training, then you get into more of the psychological presentation of telling a story, crowd psychology. You feel it, but you got the physical stuff done first because that's where you protect yourself and you protect your opponent. And there's nothing more important in a wrestling match than coming out healthy. Healthy is a big thing. So, I think Jungle Boy Jack's going to be a big star here, and you can tell he's working out, he's filling out, he's getting bigger. He's a young kid, man. For God's sakes, I got fucking ties older than him back there in the closet. He's 23 or 4 years old. Seriously. So I'm a big fan of his work, and you see him evolve and develop. And I think Excalibur makes a great point that this kid cares about every match like it was WrestleMania. He's into it, man. And that could be a blessing or it could be a curse. Depends on how one processes that emotion. But I got a lot of time for that kid. I think he's going to be a big star for us.
Well, and so just announced on the AEW social media was next week's big 10-man tag team match where it'll be the Inner Circle. It'll be Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, Santana Ortiz, and Sammy Guevara versus the best friends and friends, Trent, Chuck Taylor, Orange Cassidy, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus. And from a storyline perspective, this culminates, or this involves a lot of feuds. But from a brand building perspective, Taz, this integrates somebody like Chris Jericho and Jake Hager, two kind of established stars, with 8 other people that AEW as an organization are trying to get up off the ground.
Yeah, and I think that's what fans dig about kind of what we do, and why it's a beautiful thing that there's not like a team of writers. I think that really helps. And I think seeing matches like this, kind of like, dream matches, like where it's like, whatever, 5-on-5, 6-on-6, or like, a tornado tag with next week with Darby Allin and Mox against Cage and Starks, stuff like that. And but yeah, this being, I think it's a great way to give people kind of like dream matches of talent that are on the roster right now. It's kind of cool. Let's see all these different mixes, with the Inner Circle and best friends, and friends. It's just kind of like when you look at it at first, like, wow, that's a lot of different talent. But then as a fan, I just think that a lot of guys and girls that are fans, men and women, whatever, they look at it like, oh, wow, what's going to happen when these two guys hook up during that match? What happens when these two hook up? Oh, when these two guys lock horns, and you can go on and on with your friends talking about it or online or whatever. So I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool how the Orange Cassidy Jericho feud kind of sprung off all these other things where you have you could pair off best friends and Santana Ortiz. It could go Sammy Guevara, Jungle Boy, or in any possible direction. There's so many new and intriguing matchups, and I mean, part of that is because AEW is a relatively new company, but also because it's just that these guys are so highly talented that any of these matches, if they paired off into singles or tags out of this 10-man, would be really intriguing matchups to see on a national TV show.
The key term for me is who's going to maximize their minutes, because it's inevitable for all of us that have watched wrestling for most of our lives, some of us longer than others, that all 10 guys are not going to get the shine. If you have an agent, or you can put together a match where 10 people can shine, man, oh man, you deserve a medal and a big raise and a bonus. But the bottom line is somebody within the confines of that match, somebody is going to have a chance to turn ahead and say, God Almighty, what the hell was that? That's amazing, or whatever. Boy, that was a hard shot. They were snug, blah blah blah. So my thoughts on that match are it's going to be very uncontrollable. Probably needs 2 referees. But the bottom line is, who's going to come out of it with a little extra shine that they didn't have going in? To me, that's the story of the match.
And that match came about because of the return of Sammy Guevara here tonight. Guevara, not trying to tell tales out of school, but Guevara was suspended, and this was the end of his suspension. He came back, and I think he came back at a great time and came back in a great fashion. He's not only an incredibly gifted competitor, gifted pro wrestler, but he's also a very thoughtful guy. And he was kicking himself about what he had said in the past. And, he felt embarrassed. And I think he realized that, he had to serve his penance, or make his penance and do the right things. And I think he did. And now he's back at the right time for him.
Well, he knows he has to be accountable for his actions. And Sami made a mistake that he shouldn't have made. He's learned from it. He and I had a long talk on last week when we take these shows. And, I'm a big fan of Sami's. He's a good kid. God, he's so fun to be around. You want to work with him. You want to help him. He's, I've said this on the air. And it's not just a BS line of the old announcer line. He does remind me of Eddie Guerrero. But the thing about it is, I knew Eddie Guerrero in his game before he ever became a star in WWE. So I'm speaking from my own personal experiences and interactions. Again, sometimes it's based on a conversation backstage or a catering or something, benign. But I think this kid's got an amazing upside. He's learned his lesson. We all can make mistakes. And I can tell you, I've had plenty of second chances. Taz, you've had second chances. We've all had second chances, man.
Sure.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
It's part of maturing. It's part of growing. It's part of growing as a man or a woman. It's evolution. Yes, it's part of maturing.
Part of our journey. Yeah. It's part of our journey, man. And we don't write the journey. We're not the authors of this piece of business that we're living. So consequently, I think that Sami learned a lot from his mistake. I would be shocked if he ever replicated anything near this ever again. But the kid's got an amazing upside, and you hope that he can just put all this crap behind him. And he had a good reveal tonight. I thought he had a good reveal tonight. I thought that he made an impact returning. And it's so important for a wrestler who's been out for whatever reason, injury or this type of issue, to come back and make an impact. And Sami Guevara made an impact tonight, which is what was the goal.
Yeah, it was a great return for Sami. And also next week, we'll have Cody defending the TNT Championship once again in an open challenge. Hikaru Shida will take on Diamante one-on-one. And Taz, I'm going to give you the floor for this matchup. The big tornado tag team matchup, Jon Moxley, Darby Allin versus Brian Cage and Ricky Starks.
This is perfect because, I am so excited about the pairing and just the Starks and Cage together. It's the proverbial Porsche and the tank. That's what this is. I mean, I hate to use that kind of wrestling cliche, but it is. I mean, and I can tell you from working closely with both of these men already, there's good connective tissue there. Trust me. So you saw what happened tonight. Like I said, at the top of this 60-minute Broadway that we're doing, Darby Allin was almost beheaded. And he deserves it, that rotten son of a bitch. So, I'm fired up for Tornado Tag. I'm sure Mox thinks this is right up his alley, Mr. Crazy Man. So yeah, they're going to be a good team too. I mean, I'm not sleeping on Mox and Darby. We understand how talented they are and how great they are individually, and when they're paired up, they're going to be great. We have to have a skull session this week. Myself, Starks, and the Machine. We do conference calls. We do the Zoom. You know what I mean? So that's how we do it. Starks, listen. Even Brian Cage. I mean, these two guys. We're just getting rolling here. I mean, we're just getting rolling, and you never know. Some people have been tweeting me, "Hey, you starting a faction? This guy should be with you. This girl should be with you." Listen, never say never. Who knows? Right now, I'm concentrated on my responsibilities in the company and my responsibilities to Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. And that Tornado Tag next week, I think, is going to be, as advertised, pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Okay, but the big question is, my friend, have you stopped shaving your head?
Well, it's a long story. So I'm changing my hairstyle. I know you're obsessed with my goatee. You're obsessed with my hair. So I'm going to bring you into this. So I used to shave my head, to your point, you're bald. But now I'm going to go with like kind of a 1/4 inch type of peach fuzz. And that's like this height I think I might stay at. I might put a poll up on my Twitter to see which height. Should we 1/4 inch, 1/8 of an inch? Go 1 full 1 inch Jones? Do we go Skin City? What do we do?
Now,
So,
Chad,
I mean,
is there a tactical advantage to having a little traction there versus no traction, like in terms of grapple?
Yes. Great question. The little bit of hair, I won't blow up as much when I hold back Brian Cage. Because when I was bald, I blew up to shit. I can tell you that. I was blown. Blew up. I said to Brian, I'm begging you, just stop going to the ring. You're killing me.
Well, that's as good of a place as any to end it here. I want to thank everyone for joining us here on the postgame show for Dynamite. Be sure to check out next Wednesday's episode of Dynamite live on TNT at 8/7 Central. You can go to shopaew.com, get yourself a By God t-shirt or an FTW t-shirt. Unfortunately, no Excalibur t-shirts or masks. We'll have to send an email to somebody.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
Yeah.
We're working on it.
We got the big 10-man tag match, the Tornado Tag between Moxley Darby versus Brian Cage, Ricky Starks, Cody's TNT Championship title defense, and so much more next week on Dynamite. And the night before that, next Tuesday, AEW Dark, 7 Eastern time on AEW's YouTube. You don't want to
88 matches. It's the biggest Dark ever. It has almost 100 matches, ladies and gentlemen. They're compelling. Each of them tell a unique story. And Excalibur and Taz do a phenomenal job, i.e. the great Gordon Sully. What an enigma.
I have one more thing to say.
Oh, well, he had one more thing to say when he logged out.
What happened?
He was so intense that he logged off. So, JR, I think we'll use this as an opportunity to say goodnight to everybody before Taz keeps us down for another 15 minutes.
Good job, Excalibur. You did a good job keeping the rudder in the water. Good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, JR. See you next week.